It is another Light News Radio. Self-empowerment for the whole human being. The place where sick and tired is no longer of oneself. Featuring your host, Dr. Richard Jelisich, and co-host Deirdre Layton. Together, they finish each other's sentences, laugh, and take you from feeling hopeless to overjoyed to rock your world. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. J and Deirdre.
Welcome, fellow light travelers, to Light News Radio, Realms of Self-Empowerment. I am Dr. J, and this is the first of our 4 shows per month. And the first half-hour show for my co-host Deirdre and I, where we discuss pertinent issues. We also have a live call-in now and live chat, so things are really going to get exciting for Light News Radio, where we can have this live interaction with you, our listeners. Come aboard our beam of light and enlighten your load as we travel the waves of knowledge and wisdom for the next half hour. Deirdre, how you doing today?
You know what? I'm just excited. I've had way too much coffee today, but I'm really excited about these new half-hour shows because this gives us an opportunity to shine. It gives you an opportunity to talk about what's really important in your life and what's going on out there in real life. And it gives our listeners a sense of who we are on another level. And so this is really exciting. And I want to make sure that our listeners know right now at this time that, you know, if you go to Spreaker.com and the Bold Radio station, there's a live chat box. You can type in any information in that live chat box for questions and we can answer them. I can read them here online. Woohoo! And we have a phone number you can use to
live
call
call-ins.
us. Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. You know, this is fun. So the number, so anybody out there listening in, it's 248-629-0921. And when you do call in, our lovely Nesha in the background will talk in your ears, say, hold on, and then he'll let us know that you're live on air.
And that number is 248-629-0921.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, Richard?
Well, today, Deirdre, I thought we would start our program off by talking about Maya Prophecies and 2012. You know, we're living in an age where there really is an alignment to the galactic center that's been going on through a 37-year window from 1980 through 2017, and that is where our solar system makes its orbit around our galaxy, and as it does, it passes through an alignment with the galactic center about every 5,000 years or so. And that these alignments, the ancients told us that they would produce a transformation, an inner transformation of consciousness. And the Maya are particularly an interesting culture because they're the only culture we know of who had a calendrical system based on when a certain consciousness should show up. So think about that. When in time should a certain consciousness should show up? There was a wonderful book written by Barbara Hand Clow called The Mayan Code. And in it, she talks about some of the different authors like Kalaman and Pinchbeck and John Major Jenkins who had written about the calendrical system of the Maya and these prophecies. But also, she put a chart in there that on one side was the scientific estimates of when certain things would show up, like when was the Earth formed, when was the first cellular life formed, when did the dinosaurs come, Cro-Magnon, Homo sapiens. On the right side were the Mayan prophecies, because Mayan calendars go back 16.4 billion, that's with a billion with a B, 16.4 billion years. And they're the only calendrical system that shows when certain consciousness. So when you look at this table that Barbara Hand Clow put up, they're pretty close to show when these types of consciousness, like the consciousness of Earth, the consciousness of cells, the consciousness of reptiles, and so forth. And so this age, D, this 2012 era, is an era where the Mayans said we would go into what's called the sixth sun, and sun doesn't mean the star in the sky, it means the era, that we would go into an era of time where there would be this vast inner transformation of consciousness for the whole planet. In fact, the entire solar system is going through this change. Not even just you and me as people, not even not even just the plant life and the animal life, not even just the earth, but the entire solar system. So I thought this would be a really great place for us to start.
Well, and it's interesting because, right now, so much stuff is happening and so much change is occurring, and people are really feeling it. I know that I constantly have had people come to me and say, why is it that I feel like everything is in such a rush mode right now? But that's part of that shift. That's part of that shift is that even though it feels like everything is speeding up, it really is. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And the way to look at it is think of a little red ball and you drop it on a hard surface, and what does it do? It bounces, but then of course each succeeding bounce is shorter and faster, right? So a little red ball, drop it on the concrete, and each bounce is shorter in height and faster. And so the Mayan calendars, there were 9 calendars called underworlds, and each calendar was like 20 times shorter than the other. So we start out with 16.4 billion years, and the shortest being 1 year, meaning that every time a calendar would start, that things would, to use my word I coined, rapidify, right? And so that's what's happening is it takes less time for things to occur on our planet globally. But not only does it take less time, but the actual change itself is much, much faster. And that's why you see a lot of people kind of scrambling for identities. You see it externalized in the Brexit, Britain exiting from the European Union. You see it in the U.S. politics, where we have these 3 different types, totally different types of candidates that are running for president. These are like externalizations of this vast inner transformation change that's happening, and you see it all over the planet. So one of the things I wanted to do and have you kind of kick in too here, Dee, is some of the tools that we can use in the midst of these prophecies of this golden age. This is the golden age of inner transformation and what is called the sacred feminine. It means we're going more and more into heart-centered action than just only mind-centered action, which was the sacred masculine. And in order for us to become more stable in these changes is to understand that these are changes in consciousness. It isn't just one thing physically changing like global warming. It isn't things just getting warmer. It is a shift in consciousness where things are happening much shorter duration for them to change and much faster the change itself.
Wow. Okay. Well, in some ways I feel like it's way over my head because, even though I have a basic understanding of how the Mayan calendars work and a basic understanding of what is happening right now, there's still so many questions.
Many unanswered questions, yes.
Yeah, because I guess what I want to say is that we have numerous things happening all at one time. Numerous things.
Right.
We have, and so you can't just pinpoint down to one reality. Am I making sense?
Well, yeah, because for everybody, everything is changing so quickly. The things that we used to rely upon as old standards, like, what did we do before the age of the personal digital assistant, the cell phone? How did we navigate in our ability to communicate with each other? And now that cell phones and iPads are here, how does that change the way that we've interacted with each other? And yet these prophecies from the Maya and from other cultures like the Hopis, they said that this was the age of the great purification. Well, if you purify something, think of boiling water. When you boil the water, all of the water is moving. And the idea is that it brings up the dross so that it can be skimmed off the top. And how we handle this is how we pay attention to those things that are central to the truth of our nature, rather than just putting a salve or an ointment on something, is going to the root of what's causing the shift to happen in the first place. It would be like the difference between taking a pill to alleviate symptoms or taking something that actually addresses the cause of the symptoms themselves. So you and I, Deirdre, have been working very hard at the spiritual orientation of our universe, that everything coalesces down into physical form from a higher state of being, not limited to time or space. So you're not just going to go out there and tell everybody, well, everything is not limited to time or space, and it is very simple, because most people don't know what that spiritual nature is, and rightly so, because maybe, our cultures have not been educated, but it doesn't stop a consciousness whose time has come. So one of the reasons you and I started this radio program, Deirdre, is because we felt we had the tools to give to people spiritually, where they could keep it simple, but that using these tools would address the cause of the changes, and therefore they could flow along and grow better with the changes, rather than just giving them a balm or a salve to make it just feel better. Don't you agree?
And that was what I really wanted our listeners to hear, because I know that there's so many people out there on so many different levels, right?
Yep.
We have the doctorates of this and the whatnot of that, but then we have people who are just now tuning in and going, okay, I don't know really what's going on, and I have no idea what you're talking about, and I just want to learn more. And it's those people that are coming awake. It's those people that are, brought forward from past lives in many different cultures, such as the Hopi or the Maya, or even as far back as the Atlanteans, that are now awakening and remembering, even though they consciously aren't really knowing what they're doing, right?
Right. And it's similar. Listeners, here's a very similar way to understand this. Imagine you listeners and Deirdre and I and Albert Einstein and other luminaries are all standing out in a beautiful meadow, and the sun is shining. Well, the sun is illuminating all of us, no matter what we think, no matter who we believe ourselves to be. The sun is still illuminating all of us. So it means that every person is going through this change, and yet every person is illuminated with what they require to be able to weather the change. In other words, if everyone comes from spirit, meaning from beyond time and space, then therefore there is a oneness, and every person is an individuated spark or facet of that oneness. So the spirit within you will always externalize the means for you to be able to successfully integrate the changes of this time. Now, it may not be the same for me. It may not be the same for Deirdre. It may not be the same for our wonderful producer, Nesha. It may be different for every single person, and yet every person is a spirit who externalizes those means, those tools, so that they can successfully weather this inner transformation. Now, what Deirdre and I do is we offer different types of tools that are very, very successful in keeping a person in their inner focus. And you've heard me say this before, keeping inner focus and outer flexibility. Inner focus to who you really are, but flexible on the outside for what we call the exigencies or the little emergencies or the stuff, quote unquote, that comes up.
Exactly. And those through meditation, through our classes that you teach, classes that I teach, we offer many different tools. It's interesting that each person, we're having a wonderful thunderstorm here right now, so I'm sorry I just got sidetracked.
Yeah, that'll definitely sidetrack you.
Yeah, But it's just it is so it's so lovely that we have that opportunity in our lives right now to share tools with people, to share tools in helping people understand what's going on. And some of those tools are, as I was saying, meditation, hands-on healing, spiritual practice. And I mean spiritual practice through meditation, prayer, but whatever that spiritual practice might be for you, a walk in the park, taking time to just be with someone who is really important to you and learning to sit and just listen. In humor is a
Right.
wonderful tool. I have to say that what's his name? J.P. Spears, I think it is, on
Sears or something like, yeah,
on
he's funny.
Facebook.
Yeah.
He's just a hoot because he takes what everyone is
A little too
pro-
focused on, yeah, and
yeah.
he makes light of it, like how to be ultra spiritual, right? But
Hmm.
one of the things you said, Deirdre, and we're in these Mayan prophecies which are happening now. 2012 came and went. December 21st, 2012 came and went, but it is not just that date, like, oh, the end of the world didn't happen, I'm
Yeah.
fine. This is an
Yeah.
era. This 100 years of this 21st century is an era of time of constant change. It's not over, it's still happening. And one of the things you said a moment ago was taking time. So the real spiritual juice for that particular exercise is not necessarily taking the time for a certain thing like meditation, contemplation, reading a spiritual passage or something like that. It's the act of making the time to change the energy is the spiritual juice. So the real teaching is it's not how many times you make the time for yourself to change some habit. It's
Right.
that it's that you make the time. So many of us, we tend to count the times and we say, I've done this too many times, it doesn't work. It has
Hmm.
nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with using your will to make the time, not how many times you do it, but that you do it. That's the real spiritual juice. And one of the things about this world has we have become very frenetic, what some psychologists call popcorn mind. We're constantly checking our cell phones for emails and texting and Instagramming and you name it. But that's all well and good, but what do you do if the cell phone's not there?
Well,
How how do you come to a place of peace within yourself? So in order to weather these changes, the tools that Deirdre and I talk about, one of them is just taking the time to be completely at ease with yourself. How many of us do that?
well, and sometimes it takes more than one time to be at ease. I'm perfect example of myself. I've got lots going on in my life right now. I have family coming in from out of town. I have a daughter getting married this weekend. All these little intricate things to set up for work and whatnot, because of course you're teaching a class this weekend, and
Right. I'm coming
I'm
to
not
Calgary tomorrow.
going to be there. Yeah,
Hmm?
and so with that all in mind, my subconscious kicks in at 3 o'clock in the morning and it
Sure.
goes bing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right
you
away.
gotta get up to do
Wakey,
this
wakey.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So being present, what I have found is that if I am present in that moment, wake up and go, okay, yes, this is the stuff that needs to get done. I acknowledge it. I'm able to go back to bed and sometimes go back to sleep. But it's taking that time. It's taking that time to acknowledge within myself, my body, what's going on, and recognizing it as, okay, so I might be under a little bit of stress right now, which means that I need to take a little bit more care of myself, or, there might be a little bit of emotional overwhelm going on around certain things that are happening, and more reason to take a step back and to
Yeah.
breathe. And these are the tools. These are
Right.
the tools.
And there's no Mayan prophecies. There's not one Mayan prophecy that talks about calamities and destruction. But what you are seeing on our earth with floods, earthquakes, climate changes, is a part of this change because, I will tell you, Deirdre will tell you, Earth is alive. It's not a rock with water on it. It's a living being, just like a tree. If you could use the word apple as a verb, like Alan Watts did, then a tree is appling, right? Because that's what the
Right.
tree does. It apples. So the earth is peopling. The earth peoples. Because if you look at your atoms and your molecules in your body, where did they come from? They came
Right.
out. So we're as much a part of our earth. And when the shaman or the spiritual teacher tells you, connect to earth, what they're saying is connect with part of the essence of who you are because you're part of this vibration, if you'll excuse the word. You're part of this vibration and this reality that is earth, and things really are changing. So if you concentrate on your inner spiritual world and you come to contentment, you'll have that inner focus, and then you'll have the outer flexibility where something changes, but you would not be so affected. Just like the ocean can exist without the waves, but the waves can't exist without the ocean, you can be completely content down deep in the ocean of your mind as the waves pass way, way, way overhead. But takes practice, it takes work, and that's what individuals like Deirdre and I are here for, is to help give you the tools to empower your own life to stand fully on your own 2 feet as self-empowered, self-realized beings.
Well, one of my favorite meditations is to stand and envision myself under a beautiful waterfall. And while I am standing under this beautiful waterfall, I am envisioning the droplets flow gently over my head and down over my body. And as this water is flowing, I'm envisioning that I am letting go of everything that is no longer serving my highest purpose. And I'm allowing it just to wash gently off of my body with this water. And, this is one of the tools I think that we share with many people, because I know that there's lots of people out there that are constantly looking for ways of trying to slow down. This particular type of meditation is clearing, but it's also slowing you down. You're paying attention to the environment that you're setting up for yourself. You're taking the moment to imagine and feel the water flowing. And so taking this time for yourself awakens you on many different levels and helps you to understand who you are, because you're letting go of all of that superficial, whatever the word is, all that stuff that just superficial stuff that's just there. So when I look at that meditation, and I think back to the studies and things that I've done with you in Mexico and Guatemala and Honduras, I think of the challenges, right? In the Mayan prophecies, we have the challenges. And
the Mayans would say you are becoming another yourself.
Yes.
Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, sheds his skin so that he can become another himself. So in other words, your skin is your ego. And it's metaphorical that once you expand, your skin no longer fits. So you have to shed the ego so that you can become another yourself. And by the way, in order to get in touch with us, you can always go to our website at www.lightnews.org. That's lightnews, all one word, .org, lightnews.org, lightnews.org.
And we do have call-ins. So if you've missed this show and you're listening to us now recorded, of course, we're still live, but if you're listening to us recorded, you are welcome to call next Wednesday, because every show now will have live call-ins, and you can call in at 248-629-0921, or check out the Bold Radio station and get that live chat going, right?
You betcha. Write that down.
Write that down. Share.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not that pushy, but you know what I mean. Anyhow, sorry, listeners, I just got off track. But what I was thinking of is when we were in Guatemala and we were talking about the ability to let go, and we were talking about what it represents with uh, the the Mayans and their philosophy of what the devil is. And can you explain a little bit about that, Richard?
Yeah, I understand. You're talking about the museum we went to, Museo de Jade,
Yes,
Museum of
yes.
Jade, and they were jade masks there. And in just in the short time we have left, it's basically like if you say, "Oh, Deirdre, I've reached a new level of compassion in my life," so then tomorrow I don't get the check I was expecting in my mail. My best friend insults me, and I get a ticket for speeding, and then I'm tested in 3 times. So the Mayans, they like the word Lucifer because they that's like light and fire to them, right? Luz y fer, light and fire. So they're saying that the Lucifer in you is the egoic structure testing you. So if you claim a certain level of consciousness, then the universe will come along and will test you to see if you've really reached that level of consciousness. So this is where spiritual teachers say, when you have a challenge or a test, it's not meant to hurt you. It's not like God stacking the chips against you. It is to see if you really have what Yogananda called mental endurance and perseverance to weather the test. So this is where Deirdre and I come in, asking you to do your mental and spiritual calisthenics so that you can go to the chakra gym and get ripped. And that way you're strong and you can meet these challenges, but you understand what the challenges are, where they come from, and why they exist, and why the ancient people knew this, because they were evolved people in consciousness, and they knew these cycles of time would come again and again on the earth plane.
Yeah, it's amazing. I wanted to mention that you do a Monday meditation. Unfortunately, our Monday meditation went up Tuesday, but that's all right. We have on YouTube many meditations that you can find at the Light News YouTube channel. And please, listeners, go take a look, take a listen, because I'm sure that there's one there that will help you
Right.
and will give you the tools that you need to move forward, to let go, and to be what I like to say, your beautiful, shining spiritual light that you are, because you are a beautiful spiritual being.
Right. And as far as that goes, you can go to the website, lightnews.org, which will have a link to not only the YouTube meditations, but also there's blogs, there's tools, there's a calendrical information. And by the way, next week, Deirdre, we've got Michelle Qureshi, a former guest and an artist who's an amazing musician who will be coming on. So we've got lots on the go. But
We do.
it looks like I've got 2 minutes left here to wrap up. So, Deirdre, you want to take about half of that?
Sure. I wanted to thank our listeners for this first show. We're really hoping that we can reach you on different levels. And so what we would love to hear is, what do you want Dr. J and I to talk about on these Wednesday half-hour shows? And don't make your questions too simple. Please send us some really hard questions or topics, because we're here for you. And we really want to help you out. You can reach me at info@lightnews.org. You can call me at 877-242-5721. And you can always visit our calendar of events on our website at www.lightnews.org.
Beautiful. Very well said. This is the time of inner transformation. So you can expect the changes to be stringent and happen often, faster and shorter. And so just remember, the spirit that you are will always externalize the means to give you the clues to answers that you're seeking, because all answers come from within. That's where everything that will help you comes from. So the more you recognize that, the better it gets. So as always, may the principles of harmlessness and compassion be the guide of your every intention, your every thought, and your every action. And so it is, and so it shall be. It is done. Thank you, everyone, and stay attuned.
Thank you for joining Light News Radio, where you are self-empowered for your whole being. Be sure to join us again in 2 weeks and connect with us at www.lightnews.org.